What's going on, YouTube? This is Extreme from Zam Squad. From Zam Squad, yeah, I'm from Zam Squad. This is Extreme from Jam Squad, and I'm here to give you another Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile. This time it's of my Melodious deck. This deck is a lockdown deck. It is a very cheap lockdown deck. I think it ranges between $20 and $30 to build. Probably one of the cheapest decks you can build on the market competitively. Um, and it's a really fun deck to run. It's a lockdown deck, and yeah, if you only have like $20-$30 to spend and you want to build a deck, and still have like easy chances of doing like things and stuff like that, I highly recommend getting this deck and this deck alone because it's so cheap and it's so consistent, and it's not consistent, it's more reliable. I'm not gonna say it's not consistent, but it's more reliable than it is consistent, and you will get out what you want to do most of the time. And again, I apologize right now. Not again. I'll apologize right now. I did get into a skateboarding accident, and yeah, I have to have this bandage so that the gauze stays on, and I just put a little too much bandage on. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started. And I'll tell you right now, I do have one mis-sleeved card. I'm going to be getting another sleeve. I'm probably going to have to buy a new set of sleeves. My friend might be giving me the last sleeve that I need. But other than that, it's not that big of a deal for recording. But other than that, let's get started. 3 Sopranos. Soprano is basically one of the main cards in the deck. Oops. What it does is it allows me to go for my fusion monsters a lot more easily. This does have fusion monsters in the deck, and they're very useful. Yeah, it allows me to go for my my fusion monsters, and it also, when it's special summoned, it allows me to take a monster from my graveyard and add it to my hand. 3 Aria. Aria is what I use as part of the lockdown. When this special summon card is on the field, Melodious monsters you control cannot be targeted by card effects or destroyed by battle. Yeah, basically this is what starts the lockdown. So if you can special summon it, special summon in defense, and yeah, then this card is completely indestructible. Yeah. 2 elegies. This is the last part of the lockdown. Special summon Melodious monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, and then also has the effect of if this card is special summoned, all fairy type monsters you control gain 300 attack points. So yeah, both these cards on the field, then Melodious monsters can be targeted by card effects, destroyed by card effects, or destroyed by battle, and that's basically the lockdown. That's a very big lockdown. 3 Sonatas. Sonata is a special summon card. If you control a Melodious monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then, while the special summon cards on the field, all fairy type monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense. Then another special summon is 2 Cannon. I only run 2 because this card can only be special summoned once per turn. And if I were to pick between 3 Cannon or 3 Sonata, I'd rather have the 3 Sonata. But it has a unique effect of once per turn, you can target one Melodious monster you control and change its battle position. So if you do want to deal some damage, you can attack with a big monster and then activate Cannon's effect to put it back in defense. So like if they get a monster out that might be bigger than yours, it'll be in defense, so you won't have to take any battle damage. Oops, I dropped that. But anyway, 2 Mozarta. There are a couple big monsters, and they are Mozarta and Sharpina. I run 2 Mozarta and 1 Sharpina because I find Mozarta to be a lot stronger and a lot more effective. But they both have they're the recycling part of the deck. Basically, once per turn, Mozarta's effect is once per turn, you can special summon 1 light fairy type monster from your hand, and you cannot special summon. Well, that's all it matters because you cannot special summon other cards after you activate this effect, except for light. But most of this deck is all light. So, and then Sharpina, once per turn, I can target 1 light fairy type monster in my graveyard, add it to my hand. So this allows me to go for recycle. These 2 allow me to go for recycling. My last Melodious card is Melodious Serenade, Melodious Diva. This is what I use this card for. Is it's just 2 tributes for a Melodious monster. Yes. And then after this card special summon, it allows me to activate another normal summon. So it's pretty useful. Then Crystal Rose. Crystal Rose is basically I run 2. These are the non-Melodious cards, by the way. 2 Crystal Rose. This is basically the Prisma from Elemental Heroes for this deck, and it's actually useful in both Melodious and in Gem Knights. Basically, once per turn, I can send one Gem Knight or Melodious monster from the deck to the graveyard, and then copy this card's effect. Yeah. And then I can banish one fusion monster from my graveyard to summon this card onto the field. And I can only use this that effect once per turn. But that's useless. I mean, it's useful, but you don't ever really need to do it. But it's basically you use it to copy names. To Summoner Monk, basically this allows me to special summon either Soprano or Aria. To either go, if I want to go on the fusion variant of the deck or the lockdown variant. So yeah. Then because this is mainly, other than Summoner Monk, this is a pure light deck. Too honest. Those are the monsters. I think that's a count of 24 or 23. For the spells, 3. First movement solos. This is basically what's gonna allows me to go for the lock, and it basically speeds up the deck. If you control no monsters, special summon 1 level 4 lower Melodious monster from your hand or deck. So it's basically just a buffed up Valhalla that's not continuous. And I can only activate. Wait, you cannot special summon other monsters, but except Melodious monsters after you activate this effect. But it's a very good card. You need to run 3. You run 3 so that you have a higher chance of getting it first turn. To transmodify, this card is really useful. It's useful in any deck that has higher leveled monsters. Basically, its effect is send 1 face-up monster you control to the graveyard to special summon 1 monster from your deck has the same type and attribute as the monster you sent to the graveyard, but 1 level higher. So I can use Sonata, special summon Sonata, go for Soprano or Aria, and yeah, start off, as I said, either start off the fusion part of the deck or the lockdown. So yeah, it gives me a lot more plays. And then I run a card that a lot of people don't. I run 2 Photon Lead. A lot of people like to run MST, but I just find that there's no need to do it since most of the deck is spells, and they're activated right then and there. Photon Lead's really good because it basically Photon Lead. Special summon 1 level 4 lower monster from your hand in face up attack position. Basically, it just makes it to where I could have it speeds up the deck, allows me to special summon more for Soprano and Aria and stuff like that, so I can activate effects and get that lockdown or fusion out faster. And I might bump this up to 3. 2 polymerizations for if I don't have Soprano and I have certain cards in my hand that allow me to go for certain fusions. I can use polymerization. 1 soul charge so that I can get those cards onto the field, and like say, since the deck isn't really meant for dealing battle damage, I can soul charge and go straight into Aria and Elegy, and then there's my lockdown right there. Makes it a little bit easy, and it's only paying 2,000. It's what you would normally pay for Solemn Warning, and since I don't run Solemn Warning, I'll just run that. And then finally got a Raigeki, so I'm gonna run it, and I'm basically just gonna be taking out my Raigeki and putting it in another deck based on what deck I'm running at that time. But it's Raigeki, I don't have to explain it. For the traps, I only run 6, and of the 6, there are 3 Melodious Illusion. Melodious Illusion is a really good card. Target 1 Melodious monster you control. This turn, that face-up monster you control is unaffected by your opponent's spells and traps. I love how it says your opponent's, so you can still use yours. And then it can attack. It can make a second attack during each battle phase, so that makes it amazing. And then 3, Call the Haunted, again for the special summoning effect. If there are cards in the graveyard that you might want to take, like say even if it's a Mozarta or Shopina or Soprano, all those special summon card effects, you can just Call the Haunted, bring them back, and then do things. So yeah. Now for the fusions, I only run 4, but there's only a real need for 4. Yeah, because one of them is really, really, really good, and the other is actually pretty decent too. I don't have any ranks XYZ in this deck, but you can if you want to, but it's not really needed. Anyway, 3, Schuberta. Schuberta is basically the big monster of the deck, not your win condition, but the big monster. This card's effect is during either player's turn. You can target up to 3 cards in any graveyards. The parentheses is saying graveyard, meaning you can take 2 from your opponent and 1 from yours, or 2 from yours, 1 from your opponent. And if you do, this card gains 2. Banish them, and if you do, this card gains 200 for each. So this can turn into a 3,000 beat stick. But the downside is this effect can only be used while this card is face up. Can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. I'm sorry, I'm shaking the camera. So yeah, it can become a 3,000 beat stick. And then with Arya and Elegy on the field, it becomes a really big monster. An indestructible monster. Then the main card, Bloom Diva, the Melodious Choir. This card reminds me a lot of Armor Master, where it says this card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card. Oh no, it's just destroyed by battle or by card effect, so it's just like a bigger Armor Master. By card effects. Also, you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. If this card battles a special summon monster, after damage calculation, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference between the original attack of that monster and this card, and if you do, destroy the opponent's monster. So it's just like amazing. And the only bad thing is it requires you to go for, excuse me, thank you, go for the Melodious. You have to have 1 Melodious Maestra and 1 Melodious Monster. This one only requires you to have 2 Melodious Monsters. So you would use like Crystal Rose to turn the name into a Melodious card. But yeah, that's the deck profile. This is a very, very cheap deck, but very, very effective at the same time. I've seen a couple people top with this deck, and just because it's a lockdown deck and it's so good, like I don't even think towers. It's good against like Cleaforts because if you can just get Arya and Sharpina out, I think towers targets. I can't remember. It probably doesn't. I don't know, but it's good against a lot of good decks out there in the current meta. So this is my deck profile, and I hope you guys all enjoy and stay up to date with the new giveaway coming out and more videos coming real soon. Peace.